Here's the Erica Synths Black Series envelope generator that's 5 stages, either HADSR or HDSR. We've also got the expander. The envelope's got 2 looping modes as well as a standard gated envelope generation, along with a switch for linear or logarithmic shapes, a retrigger input on both standard and inverted outputs, and that inverter adds CV over the ADSR stages. Here's the envelope and expander, and I'll go through the envelope's features. I've got an oscillator going through some distortion and wavetable processing before going into a VCA, and the envelope's going to open up that VCA. I've got an LED cable at the gate input, which you can see goes red when active. And that's triggering the envelope, which I'm doing manually. And we've got hold, attack, decay, sustain, release, or attack, then hold, decay, sustain, release envelope shapes. We've got a switch so we can have the attack before or after the hold. So here's some attack time and some hold time. I can take the attack right down and just have the hold time. Or I can swap this on the switch so that it holds before the attack phase, and I'll just add some sustain to the envelope. Adding in some hold, notice the difference between that red LED cable showing that the gate is active and then the envelope's yellow LED showing the envelope shape, which is now after that hold time. Taking off the hold, let's go through the envelope shape, starting with a decay, which we can get a nice short pop. I'll add some sustain. And also some release, which will release from that sustain point. Taking out the gate, we've got an AD mode, which is your classic looping envelope. We can create a ramp wave with no decay and just a rising attack. The logarithmic and linear shapes are both still available. We can take down the attack and just use the decay time to create a saw wave. And we've got a full loop in ADSR mode, which is something more unique, and that will actually cycle, and that cycle will have a sustain and a release after this attack and decay stage. So I'm going to add in a sustain so you can hear that effect. By adjusting the hold time, this controls the sort of virtual created gate length that actually creates that length of the sustain for the looping envelope. Going back to the normal envelope mode, we've got the inverted output as well, so I'm going to send the output to my pitches oscillator to show that. Here's a stackable from the main output going into my main oscillator's pitch, and first I'll just tune up that oscillator, so here's the higher tuning. And then taking the envelope to modulate pitch on my oscillator. And you can hear that pitching up, so here's the inverted output now going to the pitch. And you can hear that envelope's inverted as it's now pitching down before going back up. We can re-trigger the envelope as well as gate it, so here's a clock signal into the trigger. And watch the LED cable, which is red when the gate input is active. And you can also re-trigger the module at audio rates. Here's the envelope triggered by a clock, and I'm going to go through the expander and modulating the envelope. I've got a signal going into the expander, and the LED cable will go red to show a positive signal. I'm going to add this to the first input, which is the attack CV input, and then turn up the expander's attenuator. Here's modulating the decay time. That's logarithmic, so here's the linear mode. Here's modulating the sustain level. And here's modulating the release. So we get CV inputs and attenuators for each stage of that HADSR. Here's some drums in the background, keeping a fairly simple rhythm as a backdrop, and then I've got a rhythmic gate triggering a sequencer, which is controlling the pitch of my oscillator. And I've got the same rhythmic gate also triggering the envelope, which is going to open up a filter that's got the VCO at its input. So that's it for the patch, really nice and simple. I've got 4 different CVs from different sample and hold, and also smooth random modulation sources going into the expander. I'm going to create some modulation and change those envelopes. Here's adding a sample and hold CV to the attack stage. A different sample and hold source for the decay. Turning down the other stages will make hearing the decay modulation more obvious. Here's a smooth random source for the sustain CV. And some modulation for the release. And finally a combination of modulating all those stages together. We can delay the envelope's start time by adding in a hold value and flicking in that switch so that the hold is before the attack. So that's something a bit quirkier against the drum rhythm, but we can change that envelope to be attack, hold, decay, sustain, release instead, and then add the hold on top of that attack stage. Here's going from linear to logarithmic envelope shapes. So it's really easy to get some nice and funky and varied modulating envelope shapes from the module. For the final part of the video, I'll look at creating some modulated LFO shapes, which is going to be these looping envelopes, and here's the looping AD mode. We've got the attack, and it's currently logarithmic, so let's go linear. There's a decay as well. Here's going logarithmic again. And here's some random CV into the expander to modulate the attack time. And a different random CV force for the decay time as well. So this is your fairly standard CVable looping envelope with a basic rise and fall time, but going into the looping HADSR we have a full 4-stage envelope that loops and the whole time sets the gate time for that envelope cycle and how long that will sustain. So here I'm going to add some sustain so you can hear that. Adjusting the hold time, as I said, this is the sustain time, like the length of a gate input as it would be in a normal envelope mode. With just a short click, let's add some CV into the attack and decay. Here's some CV over sustain level. And some modulation of the release. As the release is adjusting the overall cycle time of the envelope, modulating that results in some interesting and changing shapes. So that's it for the Erica Synths Black Series HADSR envelope generator module and expander. Check out the videos of the other Black Series modules on my channel and hit like and subscribe for more videos every week. Finally, check the Patreon link in the description if you'd like to support my channel.